Welcome to Beyond the Mat, where we discuss the real lives of people, myself included, our lives beyond the mat and before. Today, I want to give my son a very special shout out. Today, December 18th, 2023, he is 13 years old. Let's give him a warm happy birthday. I love you, son. Today, we are joined by Julianne Roa, a licensed therapist that's serving clients throughout Arizona. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's good to have you. We spoke a little bit in August, but you know, everything going on in the tournament with Max getting ready to compete. I tried to keep you as long as I could.
Yes, I was mad rushing that day. I apologize.
That's okay. I definitely want to have you back, like I mentioned, because you do work in the field and a professional in the field of mental health. You know, I'm challenged with mental health, PTSD, and childhood trauma, so I am very interested in hearing, getting some help for free.
Yes. Okay.
So, what was your passion in starting in the field of mental health?
Oh man, that's a great question. You know, this career is actually my third career change. Prior to then, you know, I've always been interested in mental health. I remember being real little and having like self-help books. Do you remember? I think we're like the same age. Do you remember when you could get a bunch of books for like, or CDs or whatever for like a penny?
Yes. Yes, we just totally dated ourselves.
We did. I remember just being really interested in this kind of stuff. I was a kid with a sensitive soul and big feelings, right? So you put that out in the world and there's, you know, a recipe for some, you know, just big feelings about things. And so in undergrad, I studied psychology and I looked around me and I saw these grad students that looked like exhausted and I was like, I don't want to do that. So I just ended up just doing what I was doing at the time, working in an office. I did that for several years and then came here to Arizona. I thought maybe I wanted to go to school. Maybe
When did you get here to Arizona?
I got here in 2004.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was 19 years in like Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
So I thought I always loved healthcare. I wasn't sure if it was going to be mental health or it was going to be like healthcare. I thought about like maybe nursing or something. So I dabbled in that. And then at the time, I also got married and got pregnant. And I was working in restaurants at the time. So I wanted to continue doing that. I stayed home with Max for many months. And then I was able to go back and just work in restaurant. And it worked perfectly for being home with him. So when he was about 5, I thought, well, I don't want to do this forever. And I'm really passionate about mental health. So I went back to grad school.
Good for you.
Single mom, raising him, grad school. And that's and my passion is just like, I know that there's a way around to the other side. I'm proof. It sounds like you are. I see this every day with the people that I work with. It just takes some willingness to get better, some hard work, right? It's not easy work, can be long work, but I know there's a way. And I'm very hopeful for everybody that struggles to find that way.
When you say we both relate, I'll just change up do you find yourself being more compassionate by understanding what people are going through? Yeah. And do you try to not interject how you feel about certain situations when you're dealing with like people?
Yes. I mean, we are taught to manage our own biases, right? It's part of the deal. Mm-hmm. But I'm also human. So yeah, my approach is with such non-judgment and such openness to everybody's unique experiences. Because if you put two people in the same experience, one person might have a really hard time with that experience. Right. And the other person might be like, oh, okay, that was fine. So yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I know, I mean, a lot of therapists, I think, come to the profession because, we don't come to this without having been through some stuff, right?
And you don't get rich out of this. So it's
Yeah.
it has to be rewarding for
Yes.
that person to
Yes.
put themselves out there
Yes.
and make themselves available for people that may be challenged with some form of mental health. Now, you're also board approved clinical supervisor. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So essentially, my credentials, the fancy letters, I'm an LPC. An LPC is a licensed professional counselor. That just means I'm able to practice in Arizona independently without supervision. I also am a supervisor with the board. So if somebody is trying to get to their independent licensure, I can help. So when I was in an agency before private practice, that was one of my roles, was to help new clinicians get their independent licensure. So supervising, giving them feedback, helping newer clinicians on their journey. So.
When I first, well, not first, because I had a lot of stints in and out of therapy, but the therapist I've been seeing for the past few years, she was in the process of being supervised, so she could get, what is it, board certified or?
Yeah. So it's just it's like an independent license.
Okay.
Right.
So when you were at home with Max for those first 5 years, did you have an evolution at that time? And how are you able to guide Max through life with all the experience that you have?
I for sure had an evolution, right? Like, I mean, I think, at least from what I've heard on your previous podcast, you and I are about the same age. I turned 50 this year. And you don't get to this age without some wisdom and some experiences. So I, as it relates to Max, truly is just, I try to model what, being attentive to my own self-care looks like, expressing myself, feeling safe to say, oh, I feel sad.
That's very important.
I feel mad. I'm going to go in the other room and take a breath because, our generation, no shade to the boomers, but it just wasn't part of parenting. It wasn't modeled for us to go, Mom feels upset right now. I'm going to go in the other room and I'm going to calm myself down. It was not. Did you ever have that modeled?
I did not. I believe that my parents and parents of that era did the very best they could
absolutely.
with the tools that they were given.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's also, I feel like, a journey because, most everybody does the best with the tools that they have. And that, if you're a person that holds on to that as I should have had this and that does not serve you. And, to me, if you had a roof and you had clothes and you had food and they dealt with different things and that also was not modeled for them. So yes, absolutely. Yes. Parenting has changed over time. I have so much love and gratitude for my mother raised me as a single mom and all of her siblings that helped. So, but yeah, it just wasn't something that we did back then. So now I try to do that. And I also hit the jackpot with a great
Oh my goodness,
so
Max is so good, and he's so talented. Yeah. Where did he get his passion for singing?
I mean,
hi Max.
I'm Filipino, so he's half Filipino, and Filipinos love to sing, to dance, play music.
I think musically, that kind of highlights some of the smartest people that we have walking the earth. So it's really good to see that side of Max because I know the Jiu Jitsu side of him.
Yeah.
He's such a good guy. He's such a good young man.
Yeah, and he's kind. So I think my win is that he doesn't know any different than no matter what happens, no matter what the, bad choices, we all make them, right? Whatever happens, he's got a safe place to land because he will always be accepted. Am I always going to agree? No. Am I going to get mad? Sure. But he's always got a safe place to land. So I think walking through life like that is you show up differently when you know that, right?
Yeah. And that's much different than me because, when I was coming up, my dad, my parents, rub some dirt in it and get back out there.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
it was like, you're fine. You dust yourself. That was just that time.
Yeah, it was that time. And both parents, I think there was a genuine, well, I don't want to say genuine, but I think there was a shift in life when my mother's parents, one person stayed home and taking care of the house and household. Then, you had to transition to both parents having to work. I think that kind of took away some of that. That's why I don't hold bad feelings about some of the things that I grew up saying, because now I understand. And that took a long time for me to understand.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, you're not who you are today without your life experiences. Could they have been different? Sure. But we're here now.
Fast forward to COVID. It's been widely reported, and you will have the data more than I would. But what do you think about the rise in people identifying something in themselves to say, hey, maybe I need to go and talk to someone and get this addressed?
Yeah, I mean, being a mental health provider in COVID and healthcare worker, I've had a lot of healthcare workers on my caseload that went through the pandemic, and it left its mark, man. And I don't really know the statistics. I just remember, man, just nonstop. And I don't think it's stopped since then, because I know that, there's no shortage. I didn't even market myself when I launched my private practice, and I've been consistently full with a wait list. And I know that all of my colleagues, same. And I was still working in an agency at that time, same. And at that time during COVID, I worked in an agency with kids in school.
Oh.
So that shifted everything for us, for the kids. So yeah, I don't know. I think just maybe by virtue of the world turning upside down.
Yes.
And I don't know that it's an option, because if you don't get the help, how, you're going to show up in the world and you're going to struggle, and it's going to be painful, and
Very painful.
And maybe someone, talk to a therapist, and maybe, it's just, I think it's a different time. It's 2023, like get help.
Yep.
Like, get help. There's no shame. There shouldn't be stigma. There still is. We don't go, some of us do, right? In Jiu Jitsu, we don't go get an injury and not see a doctor.
Right. Yes, we do.
Some of us
I'm
do.
sitting here with broken toes.
But for the most part, it's the same thing, right? You identify what's going on. You work on a solution. My solution isn't like wrapping a bandage on it or setting a broken bone, but same. Like, you learn some skills, you unearth some things, and then, hopefully.
That Band-Aid that you speak about, a lot of people, including myself, when I first started therapy, go for a month or so, and then, I'm healed. And it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
and that's why I'm glad that I started seeing my therapist when I did, because as you mentioned, everything is backed up right now because there's such a need for people to get in and talk to someone, as you mentioned, doesn't have bias and can just listen.
Yes. Because especially for our generation of that, what I call it, unintentional invalidation, right? They did not mean to make us feel unheard, but we did. So if I can be the person that has the space to hear, and not just to hear it, but also I'm the outsider looking in. So there's chaos and I'm outside of it. So I'm not special. I can just see from the outside what you can't see, maybe, and say, hey, do you see this? Because you're in it.
That's that independent voice that a lot of us need to hear.
Yeah.
And especially if you find someone that you can trust. In the beginning, when I started going, I wouldn't be completely honest because I still had shame of some of the stuff that I was going through.
Yeah.
Some self-inflicted, and some I just grew up learning behaviors.
Yeah.
Do you find it hard to get a breakthrough with your clients? Some of those, I don't want to say non-believers, but people that come in and say, I'm just only going to talk about this because I don't want to be looked at a certain way.
Yes. And it takes the time it takes. And I don't have a timeline, but guarantee the therapist knows if you're not right? So we can see we've seen lots of stuff. So I usually know, and when it feels like we've built a relationship, if I feel like it might be okay for you to get pressed a little bit, I will. But it takes the time it takes. But we know when y'all aren't being upfront.
That's one thing that I really like about my therapist.
Yeah.
She calls me out. Even though I take notes when we're talking, she also takes notes.
Yeah.
And the questions that I try to dodge, she'll follow up with those. Not the next time, but she'll do that at my same appointment.
Yeah.
Just to get more and more, because she can't help me if she doesn't know exactly what I'm going through.
Yes. And upon meeting someone, they tell you like, I want to work on X, Y, and Z. So if the client's not saying, we just say, hey, you came here to work on this. Let's work on this.
Have you ever had to not see a client anymore because you didn't have the two-way communication that you needed to have with that person, and you didn't see any growth or progress? Have you ever just had to let someone know, hey, maybe I'm not the best person for you to work through this?
Yeah, I mean, when I worked in the agency, you just kind of got the clients that you got. And so sometimes, it just wasn't the time for them. I wasn't the person for them. And I try to have that conversation up front. And now, I mean, usually if people want to see me, we talk first on the phone briefly. And, I say, if you find you're not comfortable or if it's not the right fit, let me know. I want to help find you that right fit. Or if it's not time for you to do this work right now, that's okay. Keep my number. Call me sometime. And they do. Sometimes they'll call and say, okay, I was not ready.
Is that painful for you to see someone walk out of the door? Because, walking in the door, you have that passion, you have that empathy, and you have that willingness to help. Does that hurt when you have to have that conversation with someone?
I mean, not really, because they're not ready.
Okay.
So I know, and maybe you do too. I remember people trying to tell me some stuff back when I was a younger person.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I knew everything.
Mm-hmm.
I knew everything, right?
We both did.
But in hindsight, I just wasn't ready to hear that message at that time. So it sucks because I want as many people to feel better. But if it's not time for them, it's not time for them. They have my number.
Yeah.
Call me when it's time. And, for some people, they get told, right? So it's like, honey, honey, you're going to therapy. If you don't go to therapy, we're not staying together, whatever that, And then, so sometimes they aren't ready, but then in their time together, they're like, oh, okay, this is good. This is helpful. So sometimes I already know they're not ready.
From a person, you mentioned this earlier, from a person looking from the outside and looking in, do you think that could be, do you think that could be part of the problem with a spouse or a husband or wife or mom, dad, telling a person they need to go and get therapy versus someone volunteering to go and get therapy?
Yeah, I mean, when it's an ultimatum like that, like, stuff's already gotten bad. But if that's an option to save your relationship, maybe that's fine. Do I like the idea of someone being forced to do it? No, I don't think anybody does.
But wouldn't that put more stress or strain on the relationship when you have someone either only doing it because they're told or showing up reluctantly?
Yes. And oftentimes they start only because they were told, but it doesn't usually end that way, at least not with me. But a lot of times, a lot of people that I see, they're doing this because nobody around them will go. So, family member, spouse, whatever that looks like, they're not going.
Right.
And so now we're just working on how to manage life with this person that won't go. Because of whatever stigma, all the things that people are still not going. It's 2023.
Right. And we talk about the spouse and other people kind of nudging people to go and get therapy. Do you think stress can ruin a relationship beyond repair in some areas?
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Because again, I don't know that everybody is taught or modeled healthy communication. And yeah, I mean, you put a traumatized person with another traumatized person, or not even both, but you put any person that has some level of baggage together, you're going to get what I call the clashing of the baggage, right? Somebody's button's going to get pushed by some other thing that somebody's button got pushed by.
Yeah.
So, yeah, been there. Like it's stress, lack of good communication, all the things. And then if you don't talk about it with someone or talk about it together or go together, then it's that little by little, the water under the bridge, it builds.
Do you see a lot of your clients having regret of some of the things that they did in the past, especially to a partner? I mentioned ruin a relationship. In the Black community, it's kind of taboo, and there's a certain stigma around people going and get the other help that they need. But in other words, by that same token, in my community where I grew up, we're not able to recognize when that love is being shown, accepting the love. I was brought up to be tough and be a man at the age of 10. And looking at the history of my family, I had someone, and I'll just say I had someone in my life for years, but a lot of the baggage that I brought to relationship was too much for her, which I totally understand. And it's just because she could look at me, she could know exactly what I'm feeling, what I'm doing. She knew me. And it's kind of tough when you really didn't have that from a family member, and then you have it from this person, and I just didn't know how to accept love, and it absolutely ruined the relationship. That's why I speak of the regret, because there's a lot of things that I would have done different.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I don't know, I think there's kind of two sides to that, because again, you, just like we were talking about earlier with our caregivers, you do the best you can with what you have at the time. Do we all have regrets? Yeah, absolutely. I have many, and I hope some of the people I've interacted with have regrets about, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So,
yes.
But, for me, I hope that it has, that and also for you, these things have changed us and impressed upon us that we don't want that and we want to be better. I also see many people that just continue to go through life and they still repeat the same things, right?
That's so painful. That is very painful.
And for me, I was done with feeling like crap. I don't want to. I'd rather, get my own shit together and, it's taken me 2 divorces to finally be emotionally ready to have a mature relationship with a healthy, and I had to do a lot of work. And it's not perfect. It's never perfect. And I have so many regrets, but I wouldn't be the partner that I am today without having, which is also not perfect. Like, it's amazing that my significant other puts up with me. It'll be 10 years next year. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And I would not be successful had I not gone through all of this other stuff. Same for you, same for everybody. So absolutely we have regrets. What do we choose to, how do we choose to see those?
Yeah, and ripping the Band-Aid off and wanting to apologize to everyone you did wrong. Some people are not ready to receive that.
Yeah.
I tried to do my part and apologize, but as you can imagine, so much damage had been done. So I kind of keep that with me, knowing that I could have been a better partner. Know better, do better, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I just kind of, put it out. I'm not going to call up some person that I wronged when I was 20, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I just try to just send that love and light, like, hope you're well, like, and it'd be a long list of apologies to make.
Same. But, I do my best. And, one of the things that I've been learning is, well, first of all, everything that's happened to me over the past 2 years, my therapist, a visionary, told me everything that's happening right now, including me doing this, would happen. That's the beauty in finding someone that you trust to bounce these things off of.
Yes.
Because I had no idea. And by being, pretty much single for the past almost year, it has kind of forced me to learn to love myself, learn to how to be alone, and learn things as I move into a new relationship if I choose to, because I'm having fun being single. But
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I love that. It's the greatest, other than parenting, which is just the best thing of my life, having the privilege of really just bearing witness to a journey and holding that space for someone and seeing that growth. And I see it every day. It's amazing. And I, as a therapist, like, obviously we can't talk about any of it. So I just have these wonderful highs and lows all day, every day. And I work from home. So I'm just sitting there in my PJ bottoms, having my sessions, and either just flying real high or just, holding some space for some, not so great moments. But it's the best privilege of my life to be a part of this journey for people. So yeah, you're not rich, but I feel very wealthy and
absolutely.
And full. Yeah.
Absolutely. I find myself thinking about my therapist all the time. I'm like, man, how can she hear everything that I've been through? And she's just so warm to me each and every time, we speak.
Yeah.
Do you find it a different challenge when you deal with someone with stress and anxiety, PTSD, trauma, whatever that trauma is? Do you feel like you have to kind of change up when dealing with any specific challenge someone has?
Yeah. So stress and anxiety and trauma are like my wheelhouses. So I'm my best self when it's like that. And every person their journey is very unique. So I make it my business to see exactly how they see the world. And then we go from there. So I take my knowledge with trauma modalities and the things that I know, and then I see their world, because that's kind of and you may know this, when you grow up in a way that you kind of have to be aware of the mood of the room. This is a gift or a curse, right? So this is kind of my superpower. I can feel the room. And so if a client can help me see what they see, then I can help, because that's what I do. So yeah, you definitely, and it's different with everybody, because again, you could have two people in the same room witness the same traumatic event, and one person is not okay a year later, and the other person is like, oh, bad things have happened. I'm fine.
Yeah. So with PTSD, when I was a police officer, there are certain things that you cannot unring that bell.
Yeah.
Me being in a home where a guy committed suicide, and then me having to work a fatal traffic accident. And this is at the age of 21, 22 years old. And I'll be 50 in August. So just imagine carrying all of that baggage with me. And then, some of my childhood trauma and some of the things that I've seen from there.
Yeah.
Just reflecting back on that, and those memories are more vivid than what I did yesterday. Is there any specific reason why the traumatic stuff always seems to be front and center in your mind?
Yeah. the primitive part of our brain that these situations kind of get filtered through, that doesn't know time. It doesn't know time. So if you've witnessed something like that, or if you're in combat, right, and you hear these stories, you've been in combat and you're here now, and you hear like fireworks or
Yes.
like, engines back. I don't know what that's called, but if you hear a loud noise, right, it's that startling, right? So our bodies get stuck, and that old part of our brain doesn't know that was your brain doesn't know that was 25 years ago. It just feels it now. And that's when you find someone who specializes in this, and there's so many different ways to, your brain, our brains, they are perceiving danger, right? That's their job. So our brain perceives the danger. It mobilizes a response, right? Fight, flight, right? We all know.
Yes.
And
I'm good at that part of
it gets triggered into this
Yep.
response. So your brain is doing its job. It's just that the response isn't today, and it doesn't know. Or the perceived danger is an email from your boss, or the perceived danger is, what's going to be the mood when, spouse comes home tonight, so the perceived danger might not be actual danger. In the case that, you've witnessed something really awful or terrifying or been a victim, it is actual danger, and it just leaves a mark on the body. So being able to get to the brain in that window is the skill. And, that's kind of where a lot of like jiu-jitsu things really help with that ability to, so many things help with that ability to go, okay, brain, thank you for doing your job. You can rest. I need to calm my body. I need to take a breath. I need to manage my energy in this sparring. I need to, all of that stuff that crosses all of those. So, a lot of people end up training jiu-jitsu with not knowing that they're actually helping. Is it trauma therapy? No. Should you absolutely get some help if you've experienced? Yes. But that also helps. So get help and also train, right?
I'm glad that you brought that up because I did want to say that one of the reasons, well, the main reason that I started jiu-jitsu is because I wanted to do something that would help me escape, at least 1 or 2 hours, 3 hours, wherever the case may be.
Yeah.
Didn't like it at first because I wasn't good at it, right? But as I grew and understood what benefits it had for me, it gave me a sense of fellowship. I built relationships, as you can see, and just being able to sit down and train and talk to other people, get a chance to know them. And when you look at the entire landscape of all the places that I've been to train, someone has a story that deals with mental health, which made me feel so much more comfortable just having that conversation with people.
Yeah, one of the biggest benefits is the community. We are wired to be pack animals, right? That's our wiring. If we way back, if you're not in the pack, you're not going to survive.
Right.
We heal in community. We connect, right? This is such a big benefit, especially of our jiu-jitsu community, because you can't explain to people what it is. And I know like everyone that most of the guests that you've had here have been a part of our community. So we know, right?
We do know, yeah.
But you don't even know. You could be helping someone that has mental health struggles and you don't even know. And other than like these two worlds rarely cross for me because I don't really talk, we're training, we're not talking about work, but I see it. I see it all the time. I see the triggered people. I see the people that are worrying. I see the people that have low self-esteem. I experience all of these things myself. So yeah.
I was going to ask you about that because we do have a community and we have so many different people and personalities come in.
Yeah.
So you're able to notice when someone may be a little bit off.
Yeah. You see so many things. And I think probably most therapists, we see stuff like, and it's just kind of there but nobody's asking me my opinion. And that's not like, I know mental health in my field. On the mats, I don't know. I'm just there to learn, right? So, but yeah, you see ego, you see all the things,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So, but it's a great community, and it's what I love about it is that you just have to say, hey, I'm 100 pounds lighter than you, or hey,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a shame that people don't know that,
yeah,
how to train. But just going back to the community, I had a really good conversation with Professor Jojo a couple weeks ago.
yes, I
And
saw that one.
yeah, and just he understands how to talk to people. He always has that even keeled personality, and for him to pull me to the side because he recognized some things, and to talk me through that. And one of the things that he would say, "Hey, brother, we're family here. Whenever you feel like that, you make sure you just come in. Just step on the mat.
Yes,
Just step on the mat." And he's right. He's right.
totally. Even when you don't want, and I think every person that you've had here, and every black belt, every coach, discipline, right? Even when you don't want to. And that's such a huge crossover too with mental health, right? Because it's comfy on the couch, right?
It's very comfy.
I want to go out with my friends, or it's like lately it's really cold out, right? So,
Yeah.
but you just go because you've decided that this is important. My training is important. I want to get better. So I just go. So I'm accepting this as my discipline. Same with other things, right? I feel sad. I feel worried. I don't want to go. I have social anxiety. But I've said to myself, it's important for my healing to get out there, be with friends. So I'm going to go anyway. So that's another thing that crosses such a huge benefit, because there aren't many places that demand a discipline, especially if you want to be better.
Right.
Other than
Right.
Jiu Jitsu, right? Like
right.
and then you can discipline and you still might not be better. Like, I don't know.
Some people get in to learn how to fight, and some people get in just to have that fellowship. I think what's really good about our organization is that it's a family affair.
Absolutely.
You don't see parents dropping their kids off and leaving. That place is always packed, which I am so grateful for, because I learn different people and I meet different people.
Yeah.
And just like you, I walk around and shake hands, and I can kind of tell when someone is off, but I don't know if I'm qualified to just start a conversation like that. So I just let it come to me.
Yeah. Or, just by being there and shaking hands and smiling, like truly, most people aren't going to talk. They just got something really nice and some welcoming community. And it is a family. I wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for my kid. I was like, well, he's going to be here anyway. Let me just try this thing.
Yep. Yeah.
And Baja Fit too, same thing. Like we did that together. We've done that together this whole time. Yeah.
If he started first, how are you a purple belt and he's a blue belt?
I mean, he started as a child. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay,
So
okay.
He
He got his blue belt at 16?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. His technique is way better. But yeah, it's just that. It's just because I started as an adult and he started as a child. But yeah, he started in 6th grade, and PE was an elective. It was not required. So, and he's a musician. So in order for him to sing in the choir and play in the orchestra, he had to forego PE. And I was like, oh no, this isn't going to do. So we lived at the time right around the corner from the original North Phoenix location, like literally right around the corner. I was like, hey, you want to check this out? He's like, sure. And he fell in love. I mean, he was like, this is the best.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well,
He's good too.
he's awesome. So I was like, well, I'm going to be here anyway. So let me I think later that week or the next week I did mine. And I was like, I had no idea what I was getting into. I was like, what have I done? Because this is terrifying and it's hard. But then I remember having a moment of like, oh, wait a minute. This is really cool. So he always loved going. And I always was like, oh God, I don't want to. And I would just go anyway, right? That same like discipline. And then a couple months later, I think I started Baja Fit back then when it was still in the schools, and I was like, oh, this is great. And we've done that together ever since. And it's for us, I mean, back then he was smaller than me, so we could train together more easily. Now, but for us, especially when we train together, that's our time. What mom of a almost 17-year-old has quality time with no screen?
Is rare.
And we engage, and he gets to armbar his mom,
Mac.
like how cool is that, right? Like, and I get to, and we laugh, and it's a great. There aren't many other sports where you can be, 50 and engage with your teen. So,
I think it's great the way that you're making him a vast, cultured young man. I look at some of the posts that you make, and I see all the places that you guys have been. Is that something that you created a bucket list to join Max, or is this something that he plans and you just tag along?
No, it's all him. As a parent, I was like, I want to have him try a bunch of different things, and whatever he ends up liking, he ends up liking. And he's always loved singing. He was singing before he could speak. And he came to me one day and he's like, I got this flyer at school for this community choir that he's involved in. I want to audition. And I was like, okay. He was like 8 or 9. And so he's been doing that for the past 8 years. Over pandemic, we were like, he decided he wanted to play guitar. I bought him a guitar. He self-taught at like 11. And I was like, hey, it's pandemic. Do you want to go take lessons? And he's like, sure. Took some lessons, and he's driven that bus, man. He just, I don't even know how he learns so quickly. Same with Jiu Jitsu. Like, he's always loved it. He knows his body and space very well, and he just loves it. And I know if he could do all of those things all the time and school, he's just really spread thin right now. So it's like it's going to either be music or school. Usually it's school first, right? Then music. And then sometimes, like, he hasn't been training a whole lot. But over break, he's going to be back. So
does Max kind of adopt some of the things that you go through in your profession when you get home? He's learning lessons, I'm for sure. Does he kind of take some of that and help some of his peers around his age?
Yes, he absolutely does. And I don't know that they necessarily love it that much, but he totally does. He's wise beyond his years. I don't know if it's just stuff he's heard.
I can see that, yep.
But yeah, I mean, he'll talk about, growth versus fixed mindset. And like, he just knows all these things. But other teens his age, not quite there yet sometimes. So he might be a little frustrated with the level of maturity of his peers.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
I think that's so neat. We mentioned about ego. Do you think since COVID, the word narcissist has been overused and misused?
Yes, I absolutely do. Here's the thing. I don't like labels. I think they stigmatize. I don't think they're necessary. I think they're only necessary if maybe you need a certain treatment or a certain medicine or what, right? Most people that have what people call narcissistic personality disorder, or for a lot of women, it's called borderline personality disorder. A lot of that is trauma. And as a trauma therapist, I just see through that lens. So that narcissist guy or whoever you're talking about does not like themselves, right? That is the pinnacle of not liking yourself. If you have to tear everybody down, that person was either something happened in their life to shape them that way. And it's usually trauma. So yeah, all the things ever since TikTok, like all the things
oh my goodness,
are very misdiagnosed and labeled, but I'm happy to see attention being paid to mental health.
It could be given the wrong information.
Yeah, absolutely.
I TikTok, you get on TikTok and you have men and women crying about certain things and then calling a person a narcissist. And the way it's described on TikTok is like 10 different meanings of narcissistic behavior.
Yeah. 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 And, again, if you're not asking my opinion, I'm not, but I see it a lot. I just, in the world around us, you see it on social media. Similarly to like, people looking up technical jiu-jitsu things on, on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube. Like, should they be using that? No, maybe not.
Right.
Maybe not. Maybe trust your professor, your coach.
Yes. Yes.
Do it
And learn that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw this on TikTok. Okay. Yeah.
Do you have to rewire someone if they come in and say, I think I'm a narcissist?
Yeah. I mean, I think that the whole act of the therapy journey is a lot of rewiring, because either it's rewiring from that, or it's rewiring from, for better or for worse, my caregivers didn't really see me. And so now I feel like I feel like I'm not enough in the world. I feel like I'm not enough, and I have to show that I'm enough by coming over the top of people. Or for a lot of women, people pleasing, perfectionism, right? So all of this is that not enough feeling. So yeah, you have to rewire that, because you are enough. Everybody's enough. Everybody's enough. Just because they're human. So, people that are narcissists don't come to therapy because they don't need it. So, but maybe if spouse makes them, then yeah, we're going to rewire some things. But I think no matter what, it's a rewiring.
Yeah. Speaking for the men, looking at social media, you see 99% of people that are calling people narcissists or women. Could that be, you mentioned people that are hurting, could that be kind of blame shifting a little bit?
For sure. I love working with men. I don't get the chance to very often, but I love the opportunity, because we're all human. And same with women, right? We have all of these things, maybe in childhood or whatever, but we also have this society that you are told, this is what's been told to you. You have to be a man, and you have to be strong, and you have to be X, Y, and Z, which creates a situation that most men that struggle carry so much shame. And then they can't even express it, because if you express it, you're soft or you're emotional or whatever. And for women, it's you have to be small and you can't say anything. And that's not true. I love working with people of color, women of color that have been told, socialized to be small, and you're not small. Like, be big, take up space, be whatever your color is, be whoever you are. I work with a lot of women too in like male dominated fields, women of color. Man, it's a society thing, and it sucks. And there's a rewriting there too. And there's definitely a blame shifting, which if everybody just worked on themselves, you know?
Yes.
Like, look inside. Don't be looking around to other people.
You know, when I hear certain things, and, I share, because what I share may help someone else. By no means am I a doctor, so I share my experiences. And when I hear people, come to me, I wouldn't do that. How do you do that? Do you not feel embarrassed? No, I don't. I did, but I don't now. Just because, I'm starting to exercise a lot of those tools that I've been taught by going through therapy, telling the truth, which is such a hard thing for people to do these days, to be honest with my feelings, knowing that I'm enough. And understanding that, this will pass. We have this 20-second thing that I do. When I'm going through whatever, I'm thinking about whatever, I just take 20 seconds and I just relax. I even go so far, I took a dry erase marker and on my bathroom window, I wrote down 10 affirmations. So it's impossible for me not to think those things about myself.
Yes. And not just think them, because I think sometimes, I know I've even done this, you see the affirmation, but you don't actually like embody the affirmation.
Right.
And that's what, you have to believe it, right? Because you can't go from like, I feel like I'm worth nothing to like unicorns and rainbows, right? It's a very incremental
Yes, it is.
process. And that, that stop, that pause, that mindfulness and that presence, also jujitsu, right? I get people all the time, they're like, I don't want to do meditation and mindfulness. And I'm like, it's not, first of all, then you're not going to get anywhere. Second, it's not just sitting on a couch, not thinking. You get on those mats and you are, if you don't want to get smushed, you are acutely aware and focused of your body in space, of the other person's body in space, and what they're about to do so that you can make adjustments. And that's a mindfulness practice.
Mental chess, yep.
Totally. So all the folks that hate doing the mindfulness, it's happening on the mats, whether you like it or not. If if you care about it.
Yes.
And if you don't, you're going to get submitted or passed or something.
Something's going to
happen. Yeah.
Julianne, I really appreciate you coming in and chatting with us. I would love to have you back.
I would love to.
I want to shift. I definitely want to keep the martial art inside the podcast, but I definitely want to shift into very important topics like mental health.
Yeah.
So be looking forward to me pinging you again, having you come in.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I would love to.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Julianne Roa. Thank you for watching this episode of Beyond the Mat. Don't forget to check out episode number 10, which is now out on YouTube. Thank you so much.